Hello, and thank you for joining us at Coalesce. My name is Sarah Leone, and I'm a solutions architect at DBT Labs. I'll be the host of this session. The title of this session is Efficient is the New Sexy, a minimalist approach to growth, and we'll be joined by Matthieu DiMercurio. All chat conversation is taking place in the Coalesce Efficient is the channel of the DBT Slack. If you're not part of the chat, you have time to do that right now. Visit the getdbt.com/community and search for Coalesce Efficient is the when you enter the space. We encourage you to ask other attendees questions, make comments, or react at any point in the channel. After the session, the speaker will be available in the Slack channel to answer your questions. However, we encourage you to ask those questions at any point during the session. Let's get started. Over to you, Matthieu.
Thanks, Sarah, for the great introduction, and thanks for everyone that's joining us online. Really happy to be here. So let's get right in. So I want to start with a quick history of where we're coming from as a market and as an industry. So really, we're coming out of an unprecedented period of growth. There's been, the stock market has been on continuous growth since 2008, something that we haven't seen since the beginning, basically, of that stock market. And the volume and amount of VC funding has been increasing like never before, both the number of rounds and the amounts that were raised in those rounds were like pretty new and unseen in the past. So it really made access to capital really easy, and it helped us to grow really fast and focus on that growth. But things are changing. We all know that over the past year, the market is taking a sharp turn, and growth at all costs is no longer being rewarded. Profitable companies are starting to be the real winners, and cheap capital is not coming to the rescue of the organizations that just burn money to finance their growth. So we know in the medium to long term, we really need to focus on durable growth and improving our profitability, and that's what's going to be our path to success. So we have to adapt to that new reality. During that time, data scientist was named the sexiest job of the 21st century. Our stack has evolved quite a lot. And so data practitioners have been fueling the growth of the market. They've been at the center of it, but it also supported us by enabling the new stack that exists, all of the new tools that we're now all using. And in a similar way, the SaaS world has also enabled a lot of this growth. We've been moving from big monolith to a distributed ecosystem, but that also created an issue with our source of truth. Where do we find the right information? How do we connect all of those tools that we have that are used by our organization? It's adding a lot of manual steps to sync the tools between them or find the information where it is. And it also translates into missed opportunities where not having a central system creates potential frictions towards achieving those opportunities. And so to quickly summarize, the market's focusing on profitability, the data stack is stronger than ever, and businesses have a hard time managing their tools. So it sounds like we can do something. We can do something to become more efficient here. Before I get into the how, I want to take you a little bit quickly through Dialogue's history. So this is our growth in terms of paying members. You've seen that graph from a lot of startups in the past, pretty standard. We signed our first client, we raised our Series A, Series B, first national partnership, to the moon. Continuing to grow. And so we've really benefited from that economic growth. But it didn't really stop there. As a telehealth company, COVID hit, and we had to scale even faster. So our growth, the graph that you are seeing before is just the first half of that graph. And so our growth really accelerated after COVID, raised the Series B plus, and went public soon after. So we went through that ideal VC trajectory that tells you that if you reach $1 million and then triple the next year, triple again, and then double every year 3 times, you're going to reach close to $100 million in revenue. And so we went through that growth really fast. For us, it's really something that enabled us, like this market enabled us to scale up and to respond really quickly. But we've learned a lot along the way, and that's also what I want to talk about. So now what? Now that you've reached 100 million in revenue, well, it's really hard to triple again, right? Like there's not as much room to grow as an organization. So you need to refocus. And so that's where I want to bring Sexy back. I want us to focus more on efficiency than on growth. Of course, growth is really exciting, and like throwing money at a problem can be a bit thrilling, right? Like you have to scale really fast. You've got access to a lot of money. You do it. That's great. But the real challenge is to do that with few people and few resources. And that's the true achievement. And to do this, what I'm proposing is unifying our different systems by leveraging the data warehouse as a true brain for the organization. And in this, we have a major role to play. As analytics teams, we're at the center of the business. A lot of data is available in the warehouse. We have reverse ETL tool that allow us to push this data anywhere. And everyone's asking us for a single source of truth. So if we're doing it for analytics and for reporting, well, we could take that a step further and really unify our different systems. And as I was mentioning, leveraging the data warehouse as a brain for the organization, not just as like something that is used for analytics or reporting. And sometimes we push a little bit of data outside. But are we really ready? Most of our DAGs look a little bit like this. We've got hundreds of models. We've got tons of dependencies. So it doesn't really look like a strong operational analytics pipeline to me. And some of the engineering best practices that we're claiming to use are not yet at the level where it can support an entire organization. In general, operational analytics is fairly new, and it's only used in isolated use cases. So we need really to take that a step further. And how do we go about this? So I'll start describing a high-level process and then move on to a few hurdles that that you've got to be aware of and that we've had to address in our history. So first, at a high level, what this looks like is like starting by defining what we mean by efficiency, then getting alignment from the organization, then like doing a few proof of concept, proving the value, and scaling beyond a single team. So defining efficiency, obviously we've got to measure our success. We're an analytics team, so we focus on measuring what we do. Efficiency can be measured at a few levels, like personal, the team, or the organization. I'm not going to focus on the first one, but for the team, we use 4 metrics that are from the book Accelerate, which are deployment frequency, lead time for change, mean time to resolve, change failure rate. So it really shows us how fast can we ship code. And when we ship that code, are we introducing a lot of bugs, or are we spending time on resolving those? And then the business efficiency. So you might be aware of gross margin, revenue per employee. What I really like to use is operating leverage, because this is kind of a good balance between focusing on growth and on profitability. It's measured as when you bring in your next customer, your next dollar of revenue, how much of that revenue goes directly into profit. And so if you're able to optimize that, you're able to like get your company to profitability faster. So once we've defined those metrics, well, we've got to get alignment within the organization. And so for that, what I do is I start by gathering feedback, listening to people, understanding like one end-to-end process, mapping it, and talking to people about what they're doing in that process. Then measuring it. I've talked about the metrics that I like to use. So breaking down this process and really measuring how much each step costs and what can we save. Once you've done that, usually you'll identify one core issue with this process, because like things are not like, if those things were easier, everyone would have automated everything already. For us, one of the big issue was that our legal contract was not connected to our technical platform. So it meant that we had a legal source of truth, but then what people really had access to was defined in our database. And so those were completely separated, and it created a lot of hurdles for people that like needed to add manual steps. Next step, assemble a team. Like, you won't be able to do that alone. It's something that will span your entire organization. So again, talk to people, identify their pain points, show them how you can help them and how they can help you. And the last step is obviously getting executive buy-in, making sure that your project is going to be prioritized. But if you've done the steps before, all of this should be fairly easy. As an example, the first thing an executive would do before giving you their green light, they'll talk to their team. So for example, if the head of GTM of go-to-market is like looking to make a decision, they'll ask their RevOps team. And if they are aware of the project, if they're convinced that you can bring value, it's going to be a lot easier to eventually get that buy-in. So once you've had that buy-in, now it's time to go into execution mode. So, and here you need to define your short-term and long-term value and find a good balance between the two. For us, our vision was to create a unified quote-to-cash system driven by our client contract. So when I sign a contract, I want to make sure that this flows into all of our systems, and that like there's no manual steps needed, and like everything just works as expected. No one has to be involved in that entire process. Once you've done that, like you can start with a few proof of concept. You probably have data already available in your warehouse that you can pretty quickly push to different tools. So prove that value really quickly, and that's going to give you credibility to build that project over the longer term. And finally, this is going to be something that's going to be driven through multiple initiatives. For us, having a full quote to cash process automated is like multi-month project. And so we had to break it down into multiple initiatives to make sure that we're making progress while keeping our big goal in mind. And once you've proven that value on a few projects, well, you need to scale beyond a single team. You're not going to do that alone, and you'll need help from different teams. I've put the example from us, but like the stack probably looks very different for you. What I really want you to think about here is that there are clearly now blurred boundaries between data and operations. And here we need to fully embrace our role as enablers in this ecosystem. We're enabling RevOps to better manage Salesforce. We're enabling customer success to better serve our clients. So here, our role is to be a translator between the business and technical requirements, to train power users to use our tool and our data, to provide a common platform so that people can develop on it and improve it over time. So really having those like multiple data owners helped us to like go from the data team trying to build all of those automations into the data team providing data to everyone else, and then everyone else building their automation to achieve the vision that we all had. So really quick summary: find one metric that matters, focus on this, gather your team, deliver value quickly. And once you've done a few of those proof of concept and delivered some value, identify owners beyond your team and really spend time supporting them. So once you've done this, like a first time, let's say, you'll hit a few roadblocks. And I want to walk you through some of these when you get to execution, what are some of the potential challenges? So the first one that I've already mentioned is modularity. Over the past decade, the engineering community has been focusing on microservices and on building systems that are more modular. And that's what we need to do with our analytics stack, but also think about our SaaS tools. We need to think of them as like modular tools that can be used by anyone in a plug and play manner. And like that's all going to make us more efficient. That modularity will make our team more efficient. We'll be able to ship code faster, which is one of the metric that I was mentioning that we're measuring. It will build a more scalable platform, and it will allow for more automations to be developed faster. So now get your Coalesce bingo cards out. I've got one slide about data mesh. I just wanted to I don't want to go through the principles really, but what I want to show is some of how we've applied those principles to our use case, like making it a lot more concrete than just like 4 principles at a high level. So for us, domain ownership means that we can put the data platform in the hands of another team. And so we've been through that journey of like being a central data team where we pull data from all of our different systems, and like basically we manage everything from there. Then we started collaborating with engineering. The services would drop data on S3, the data platform team would pull data into Snowflake, and we would model it in collaboration with engineering. So at that point, we started working together a little bit more, and we were both more conscious of the challenges that each team had potentially. And then we went into like fully transferring ownership to the engineering team. So having a dedicated dbt repository that they would own, and our team just started to act as a support team. So this looks pretty easy on paper, but what this looks like in a little bit more details is building a real self-serve data platform. So for extract and load, we have templates for Airflow jobs to pull data. For Snowpipe, I was mentioning pulling data from the service to S3, so like to a file system, and then loading it into our warehouse. So all of this, we have templates, projects that are available. We manage Fivetran and make it available to all of the teams if they want to pull data from other systems. Same thing for dbt. We have templated projects that like people can clone the repo and just get started. And those will include CI and CD. So again, templates of pre-commit hooks, SQL fluff for linting, for example. So here, this is an important piece because the engineering team is probably not familiar with dbt. In our case, they're spending most of their day coding in Python. So they need some support to understand what are the best practices, what are my naming convention, how do I lint my code. So really providing this repo that has CI integrated, CD, and all of that validation made them a lot more confident that, okay, like I can take on a project and I know that I'm doing the right things because those tests run, they pass. So everything looks fine. Again, templates in Terraform for access control. But even more important than all those templates, because obviously we didn't have them on day one, and I don't expect everyone to have them. The most important piece was the support and the training that we were providing. We've developed those templates with the engineering teams, and by learning from them, we've been able to adapt what we were providing and also get better on our side. And the last component is product evangelization. Our analytics team knows really well the needs of the business, so they can easily take a data product and see what other application it can have. So really like showing that, okay, now that we have that data available, what else can we do and how can we help you to achieve that? That was an important piece. So going through a quick example for us, I was mentioning user eligibility being something important that drives how people have access to dialogue, and how people will pay, how much they will pay. So it's a big use case for us, supporting billing, client reporting, email engagement campaigns. So again, like pretty big DAG that we had to work on, and where we're working on transferring ownership to the engineering team. And what we've been able to do with this is refactor this into a single DBT package with few models, because we're focusing on the right things. We knew what we needed, few exposures, and at the end resulted in faster runtime, because by working with engineering, we're able to take the runtime down from 1 day to about 10 minutes, something that's easier to maintain, that is compliant for billing, and I'm going to talk about that right after, and that has better documentation and test coverage. So at a very high level, identify your high value use cases, find the team to work with. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't do too much at the same time. And more importantly, support the potential owners that you will have. And that's eventually going to make your company more efficient and your team more efficient. The second thing that we had to go through was around testing. And here I would say we really have to do better than like the standard testing that come out of the box. For us, it was for our billing run. Well, like a uniqueness test doesn't guarantee that your billing and that your invoices are 100% accurate. So we needed to build that confidence. But not only did we need to build the confidence, we also needed to prove it to auditors that would want to validate, okay, like, are you doing the things in the right way? Have you validated those changes that you just released? So what we're doing here is the standard Slim CI, running it against our dev environment, against prod. Having a dev environment is very important, especially when you think about business systems where, like in Salesforce, you can have a sandbox, but you need to make sure that that sandbox is as close as possible to production, and work here with the owner of Salesforce to build that sandbox, because that's something that's going to save you a lot of time, that's going to make you more efficient in the long run. And the important part here is more the DBT DAG's end-to-end test. So really testing our DAG from the beginning to the end. That allowed us to add regression testing, which means like validating that as we're introducing new features, we're not breaking the old ones. So just showing quickly what this looks like. And there are a couple of references to packages that I've linked here, because they do something very similar. The idea for billing in that example, our output is going to be an invoice. So we create fake invoices. Our input are user eligibility. So when were they eligible for the program? How much should they pay? So here, what we're doing is that we're swapping our sources for those mocked files. So seeds in DBT, CSV that we have of the mock input and the mock output. And so the first step is how we swap the input. The second step that we have is testing for that the invoices are the same as what we're expecting. And so we're running that on every commit. And even taking that a step further, in the PR, we are pushing the differences, if there are any differences. So here it might be a bit small, but you see that there's a file that was deleted. So the person that reviews the PR knows, okay, there is a change, or it could be only a few records, but they're seeing this change and can review why was there such a change. And if everything goes well, you've got a nice message that says no files changed. You can like just continue with reviewing the PR, approving it, knowing that all of the test cases that we've defined work well, and that the billing is not going to be impacted by those changes. So again, like, how does that relate to efficiency? Well, it helped both, again, our team and the company to be more efficient. We used to have a consultant full-time equivalent that was spending time validating those billing runs, because we've got thousands of clients with multiple ways of billing. So they had to go through, and that's just like a compliance thing. We didn't do it because we wanted to, but you have to do to prove that you're validating those changes. So saved that salary. We've been our validation process went from 2 days to only a few minutes. People are able to debug this a lot faster, and our number of bugs is trending down. I didn't want to jinx it. We're at 0 bugs so far, so I haven't included 0 exactly in the slide, but that's where we stand at the moment. And that, like, but we know that even if we do have a bug, we're going to be able to add that test case to our suite and make sure that it won't happen again in the future, and we'll have 100% confidence here. So I would say really go beyond the standard test. Make sure you set up a real dev environment, whether it's for your infrastructure, your own infrastructure, or when you're working with SaaS. Make sure that you have a way to mock data from those systems as closely as possible to your production environment, and work incrementally towards what a good test coverage means for you. In the case of billing, we can't make a mistake, so we have to spend a lot of time on building the best test coverage possible. But there are other use cases where we're applying the same principles, but maybe not covering as many steps. So good test coverage is really relative to what you want to achieve in terms of quality. But as you work incrementally, you're going to be able to raise the bar over time. So yeah, what's next? What do we do from here? So I would say start by talking to people in your organization. If there's only one thing that like you've got to do tomorrow, that's how you're going to be able to identify opportunities. Then build a roadmap towards system integration. Really, as analytics teams, we have to take more ownership of the operations of the SaaS of our infrastructure, and really consider them as part of the analytics team's responsibility. I think by doing this, we're going to be able to bring a lot of value to the company and make all of our organizations more efficient. Then I'd say design a system that can be leveraged by multiple teams. You're not only building for yourself. If you want this to have a real impact, you've got to push it and like push the limits so that more teams than just the analytics team, the data platform team, can contribute. Assemble a cross-functional team. Again, you're not going to do that on your own. So work with everyone in your organization that can support and that will benefit from those projects. And automate as much as possible. Start with testing, but access management, like provisioning, there's a lot of things that can be automated. And I think during that period where we're talking about growth at all costs, it was easy to say, well, we'll hire more people and they'll do more work. But now we really have to focus on, well, how can we be smart about it? How can we be more efficient in what we do? And with the same number of people, do 10 times more. And that's really where, yeah, like I think there's a huge opportunity for all of us to put our warehouse in the center of our business, and not just like have reverse ETL that pushes a few data points to different system, but leveraging those tools to truly integrate those systems and make sure that they talk to each other. So just leaving you with a few ideas to get started. So where to look for opportunities. One is build versus buy. Like, do we need to buy a new software, or can we build it internally? We've been able to identify a few cases where access to better data would mean that we didn't need to buy another tool. Look at your user journey. Where are there some friction points, and what can we automate in there? RevOps, I was talking about, for us, it was quote to cash, the biggest project that we've worked on. So lots of opportunity here. And the last one is anywhere where there's a team handoff, a team passing the ball to someone else, marketing, giving a lead to sales closing a deal and sending them to customer success. Usually there are like frictions here and manual steps that are required. So thanks a lot for your time. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to jump right into the Slack channel to answer all of your questions, and I hope to see you there.
Oops. Yep, great presentation. If you'd like to join the Q&A with the speaker, stay in the Coalesce Efficient is the channel in the DBT community Slack to submit your questions and comments. If not, the next session is titled Navigating Data Consolidation After M&A and will be starting at 12:45 CDT or 6:45 p.m. Irish Summer Time. We hope to see you there.